This is just a short collection of different strategies that work in higher new game. I put a table of contents if you're interested in a particular one, uh, and I'll talk more about why they're relevant when we get to them. Generally, I finish the trophy bonuses up to NG10, and then beyond that, I've only done gory grasslands and smoldering depths outside of what's required, the 3+9 clears to progress the next stage. So I have high baby ball damage and speed, and the rest of the stats are a few NG cycles below. Um, yeah, we'll get into it. I did mess up the audio recording, so unfortunately I have to watch my VOD and comment on it. But let's go. All right. So the first run is with uh, Cogitator and Empty Nester, and what you want to do here is reset until you get Freeze. This gives you a 50-50 chance of Freeze Ray or Wraith, ideally Wraith. And you can gamble to try to get Poison or Cell to make Rad Laser, or um, Horizontal Laser to try to make Holy Laser. Another option if you get Freeze Ray is Dark for Phantom Freeze Ray. Uh, you can only really gamble when you have one level up though, otherwise it bricks it. In this case, I chose not to gamble and just go for the guaranteed win. Another option is when you have a ton of level ups, you can try to get a secondary fusion. The important thing here though is like you need to have fusers available if you're going to gamble like that. Like right after you've killed a boss or if you have two stacked up, because you want to keep the uptime on the freeze very high. Uh, Essentially, the strat works on stages 1 through 7 to make Cogitator able to clear everything. On stage 7, it's a bit annoying because the boss is so tanky, but it's doable. Especially if he gets healed, it's a nightmare, and that would be Heavenly Gates. On stage 8, it doesn't work so well because of the bullet hell, but we have a different strategy for Cogitator there. And this is mainly so you can get the trophy bonuses, since whatchamacallit is not a viable character, Radical. Um, and so losing Radical and Cogitator, you lose a fairly significant amount. So we want to carry Cogitator through. Um, yeah, I think there's not much to say uh, besides the options for gambling. But yeah, the essential strategy is just quick reset until you get freeze and then go. Yeah, I don't know why the audio for the game is also missing in this recording. It is what it is, I guess. This does require you to be able to dodge the boss, though, which, if you're pretty progressed, you should know what all of them do. Uh, and it shouldn't be much of an issue. Oh, it's just really quiet, I see. But as you can see, yeah, the damage is not high, and it takes quite a while to kill the boss. Uh, if I had Rad Laser, it would be roughly twice as quick, and if I had Holy Laser, it'd also be significantly faster. Um, but it takes more quick resets to get that going, whereas Freeze, it's pretty easy to get going. And the passive doesn't really matter what you get. Like Slingshot is mildly useful here, but you can get by with pretty much any passive. Even Hourglass is fine, which normally breaks a lot of characters. Uh, some are better than others, like Bottle Tornado is pretty good, but it won't make much of a difference in the end. Sorry, I don't really have a lot to say. Well, I'm just dodging boss attacks. There's not much interesting going on. Oh, one more thing is on some bosses like Skeleton King, you can aim directly up and catch the balls instead of waiting for the return animation. Uh, on this boss, you have to dodge too much to do it effectively. It's really only like Skeleton King and certain portions of the second boss you can do that, but it is a pretty big damage increase if you're able to do that. Alright, and this is showing how fast you can clear normal. The core of this strategy is just Ethereal Cloak with Tactician plus Spendthrift. Essentially, you just need Ethereal Cloak. Everything else is optional. Um, Maggot helps a lot, but it's not needed even. Okay, we got it here. Uh, Essentially, what I'm doing there is you banish passives one at a time, then close the menu and reopen it, and it will re-roll the selections. It can even re-roll the other passives. So you want like 2 to 3, 4 is ideal passives on display, and start banishing one at a time and re-rolling. It gives you a lot of extra choices since it's quite hard to get specific passives. And then once you have it, you just smash click and then right click or A button, B button, or right trigger B button, depending on what platform you're on and what controls you have, to quickly recall the balls. At certain points, you'll want to intentionally not kill the enemies to build them up, like when the boss is spawning. Since on certain stages, like this one, the boss does not spawn a lot of ads for Maggot and or Flash to go off, and you want to kill them very quickly. Liminal Desert is another one that you want to stack waves before the boss spawns in order to kill them quickly. Cornucopia is a nice to have because it boosts Maggot damage, but again, nothing's necessary besides the cloak. It's pretty much all just about optimizing. And yeah, the core of it is pretty simple. Just mash the buttons. And once you have something to kill the boss in Ethereal Cloak, you pretty much don't need to level anymore. Like, I think at this point I will stop leveling since I have everything I need. You can also move up the stage, so it takes less time for your balls to reach the end. It's not super necessary though. And similarly, you can move to the back if you want to stagger the waves to save them up for the boss. So here I'm trying to save waves because I see the bar on the right, the boss is close to spawning. And then the boss also plays an audio cue and the stage expands, so that's when you know you need to stop shooting and wait for the animation to finish. And yeah, so 331 on normal is insane. Normally it takes like 10 minutes if you're playing normally and not speedrunning. On the 3 arrow speed, so that's a huge time save. Even if you field clear everything, you're not likely to go that fast on normal, and you have to do normal on every stage. Unfortunately, you can't just skip directly to fast 9. Even though there's no real benefit of playing on normal, the trophy bonus is negligible. Alright, this is showing mosquito tech. Basically, empty nester ignores cooldowns. And so balls this is relevant for are egg sac, voluptuous egg shack, nuke, bomb, black hole, dark, shotgun, and mosquito swarm. Uh, Probably the most damage is with mosquito swarm. You can crash the game though. You can pretty much fuse it with whatever. The main trick in higher new games is how to not die while you're building your mosquito swarm. Um, Essentially, you want Wraith early, and then you need to think about which balls you're picking. Uh, like whether, how much of a percentage is Wraith of your balls. Like right now, it's 1 in 4 balls is Wraith, and now it's 1 in 5, but I'm going to try to evolve hemo right away. You can also brick the run, like with taking Ethereal Cloak too early. It is good to have later, but if you're going for Mosquito Shred and you take it too early, you'll get weak balls like Vampire and Bleed stuck in the back, or components of Nuke if you're going for a Nuke instead of Hemorrhage, and then you'll just die. So the order in which you make things does matter quite a bit. But it is still viable on high NGs to do the Mosquito Swarm strat. I think this is when I realized my audio was messed up, unfortunately. So at this point, you want egg sac right away, which is why I spend so much time re-rolling it, because otherwise you won't have baby balls to cancel projectiles, and they hit super hard at this NG. And now we're safe to take Ethereal Cloak, because the only 2 balls, or the only ball we could have in the back is Hemorrhage. So there's no risk of something getting stuck and causing us issues. One thing for mosquitoes is if you want to pad the DPS at the end, take Gem Spring because the mosquitoes target the Gem Spring. If you want like actual practical DPS to clear the stage, you want to avoid Gem Spring because of the way it works, and you just want a regular effigy. So like you can see there, I rolled over Gem Spring, and we're just fishing for an effigy at this point to pop the mosquitoes on. You do get a ton of gold in higher new games, thankfully. So uh, for balls, you pretty much have an item editor. You just pick whatever you want. And but for the passives, there's too many in the pool to deterministically get the same ones every run. What else is there to say? Oh, yeah, I think I was talking in the clip there about the crash. Essentially, if you get too close to the effigy, the game crashes when you have Mosquito Swarm like this, especially if Mosquito Swarm is your only ball. Um, Essentially, as long as all of your balls have cooldown, this is half as many mosquitoes, but as you'll see, uh, that's still absolutely insane damage. Like the boss lived less than half a second. So you can combine any other balls with cooldowns. Like you could have Black Hole Flash if you wanted, and use the mosquitoes for a single target. Okay, for False Messiah, you can play solo. It'll give you 3 character options, and always pick the one on the most left if you don't have Twitch chat. If this gives you a very bad option, like Cogitator or Radical was the leftmost slot, you can walk into the map and die. and this will pass an in-game day and give you new choices. Um, Repentant is probably the next source. As you can see, I lost a few times, um, but it is doable. Essentially, you just need Ethereal Cloak really early, and here I got it on the first passive. Uh, it was hard to see on that screen, but False Messiah cannot skip the initial upgrade choices. He has to take a ball and a passive if you have those buildings. And then, as you can see in the upgrade menu, he does not have access to the 4 banishes other characters do. He starts with Bleed and has the same stat distribution as Warrior. And he can bring any partner, it's just a random one. The other thing is you can see Twitch chat is deciding your fate. This can be one of 4 negative debuffs or 4 positive debuffs, but in the settings you can just make it only positive in the lowest vote time and cooldown. If you're playing with Twitch chat, there's 4 options, but it always picks the top of the list if you're playing solo. So it can only be health, which gives you enough health pots to bring you to full health, so it heals you a bunch of times in 10 health increments, which has some synergy with bandage roll. Or it can give you gold, which just gives you a lot of gold to fish for rerolls, since you don't have banishes. Here I took Baby Rattle, which is really risky on Repentant because of how that character works. It's kind of bad in higher NGs at the moment. It's not unplayable, like it's still fine, but essentially fire rate, there's no trophy that scales it, and the infinite buildings, the cost becomes prohibitive to level them like very early on. So Repentance kind of limited in how fast the special balls can fire, and taking Baby Rattle hurts that. You pretty much have to get Warhorn and evolve it right away into Cornucopia, which doesn't have the penalty associated with Baby Rattle, which is why I was rerolling so much there. And then I also took Wind Cell just to survive early. It's pretty solid on pretty much every character. Wraith's also another option to survive, as is Blizzard. As we've seen earlier with Nestor, Cogitator. Here I'm just looking for some way to multiply Hemorrhage. I could have taken Egg Sac. I have actually no idea. I can't remember what I'm going for here. Oh, I think I ran out of money to reroll, so I just had to take something. That I could get rid of. You can use the fusers in a lot of cases. If you don't like the options, you can close the menu, pick up a fuser, and it will give you new options after. So here I got the components for Flash, which is one of the better pairs for Hemorrhage. It really just depends on the map and the boss, which is the best between Maggot, Flash, Voluptuous Egg Sac, Cell, Brood Mother, Spider Queen. They all work. I think here I'm just trying to get random balls so I can guaranteed roll for passives. Wagon Wheel and Upturned Hatchet are really good when you have Cloak, but all damage increases are additive, so it's not like 4 times damage, and or that's not true. Radiation's a multiplicative damage multiplier, and there's a couple others, but in terms of the ones from the passives, they are, and same crits are additive with other sources. So it's not insane, insane. Like it's not actually double damage from Wagon Wheel, but it's quite good, and same with Upturned Hatchet. Alright. Right, a lot of people struggle with Sisyphus, and usually when I see them struggling, they're struggling to get the run started. You can pair Sisyphus with Nestor, and then either fuse Ghost with Earthquake and use the ball with a cooldown like Nuke, or you can evolve and do Glacier plus Ghost also works, or Glacier plus Egg Sac, and then like make Phantom or Wraith Dark. This is just showing how to survive the Sisyphus early game. Crown of Thorns helps. You basically want another ball that's doing AoE early. Wind helps you survive early. Wretched Onion's also really good. I can't remember if I get it or not. I think we're just taking balls to help us survive early. Like Wind and Laser will be a good combo. V-Sword's also good. Oh, I skipped past the Wretched Onion there. I think I made a mistake, but that's okay. And I think I just actually completely lost the audio for this one. I don't know why my recording messed up. Wind Fan's also really good for stalling, especially against the mini bosses. It's insane. It doesn't completely slow the enemies if you combine it with Wind, but it's so significant of a slow. Sometimes they can even get knocked back due to certain game conditions. Okay, so I finally took Wretched Onion, which is very useful for killing the boss because it does more damage than most of your balls. Because it scales with passive power and AoE power after the November patch. I believe the Switch version, Nintendo Switch 2, is still waiting for that patch. So if you're on that platform, be advised of that. But it really helps you shred the first boss before you have good balls. And the good AoE balls are like Overgrowth, Nuke, Glacier, and the good status balls are Phantom. There's a couple others. Oh, Holy Lasers. Okay. It doesn't actually do that much damage. It's more, it hits everything basically. And so here we're going for Glacier, which is just the strongest option. And then since we're Flagellant, combine it with anything that spawns baby balls. Most AoE effects have a penalty when they're in their baby form. But Glacier is special in that, same with Magma and Swamp, because it is not the ball doing the damage directly, it is the area hazard that spawns, which is every so often the ball is in play. It will spawn these spikes, or the magma blobs, or the tar blobs with Swamp. It basically doesn't matter that it's in a baby form. It doesn't get the damage penalty since it's the area hazard doing the damage, not the ball itself. Ethereal Cloak is also really good for this reason, to keep Glacier around for longer. And I think I was trying to get it, but misclicked. I shouldn't have taken Eye of the Beholder. I think I was trying to banish that and misclicked. Hemorrhage also works for Sisyphus. I think we'll see that later. He doesn't get a bonus to it. Like, it still does the regular 30% current health, like for other characters. But he doesn't get a penalty either. Like, it still does its damage. It's just harder to make because it does no damage until you have it assembled as Sisyphus. Like, you're not getting any benefit from Iron or Bleed, really. Right? So yeah, Glacier shreds the boss. And yeah, I think it showcased how to get past the early game. I don't know why I'm stuck on this screen so long. There we go. Oh, it didn't show up there long, but don't trust the end screen DPS. And this one, a lot of people struggle on. There's an enemy called Shroomboomer that anytime you hit it, it retaliates, and it's not dodgeable as Tactician on Fast 8 or Fast 9. And essentially, this can basically one-shot you. So the important part here is to get Ethereal Cloak early. In this case, we got it on the first, and pair with a character that has few baby balls, or a character that you can aim away and not hit the Shroomboomer. So this would be like Sisyphus, Empty Nester, Shade, Embedded. And you want to kill the Shroomboomer in as few hits as possible, or otherwise the retaliation damage will kill you and you can't dodge it. So here I have Cloak, but I need Vampiric Sword as well. And then I need something that's actually going to deal damage quickly to the Shroomboomer without hitting it often. Which in this case I went for Hemorrhage, Flash. And I got my sword, so we're pretty much set. We just need to evolve and fuse the balls. And the Shroomboomer is that one right in front of the boss that's in a bucket. That's the one you need to be careful for. Protective Charm's good. Oh, yeah, Protective Charm brings up a point. The Shroomboomer's attack is not a projectile, so Lover's Quiver and the Hand Mirror do not work. You need other ways to avoid it. But yeah, you can see each Shroomboomer projectile hits for 90, and we have like roughly 900 HP. Your HP does not go up that much between NG+ levels because the fungal trophy is kind of bad relative to endurance and relative to how much the damage increases. I think here we're trying to greed for Overgrowth Flash, but I don't think we'll get it because we're not killing all the enemies, so we're missing like experience. Sorry for coughing. Sun would have also worked, but Flash is better for Tactician. Yeah, so here I'm just rolling to make a second Flash. And there, yeah, I had a lot of Shroomboomer projectiles stacked up, so, but you pretty much heal back to full. You don't want to evolve Vampiric Sword. It's fine to take the Chalice, but you don't want to mix the two pieces together because you just don't heal enough with them as Soul Reaver, and you shoot so few balls anyways on Sisyphus, the penalty doesn't matter. On other characters, that's not always the case. You do want to evolve to Soul Reaver, but for Sisyphus, you just want the sword. Yeah, so we were one level shy of making Overgrowth Flash. And so we're just taking random things at this point. Now I need to open the next video. And make sure OBS is recording. Oh, so this was, a lot of people struggle on Shade. If you pair him with Cohabitants or Flagellant, he's very, very strong. There's a couple other characters he does well with. Basically, you just want to take advantage of the fact you basically have a free ethereal cloak. Here I take wind early to survive because it's a staple. And then I see I can make Maggot. Maggot is less good on Shade than some of the other characters just because of the way he works. But that's okay. And I think here I wanted to showcase, like, you can win without hemorrhage, or that should have been obvious from the first one. You can win without hemorrhage or glacier or nuke or overgrowth, which are they're not as good as glacier, not even close, but they're like the next tier of damage. But like, why do we always go for hemorrhage? It's not that you can't win, it's just the boss takes way longer. And we'll see this at the end, the comparison, that we don't really have any difficulty with the waves doing a different strategy. We only do it to make the boss kill faster because that's one of the main ways, like, time is increased. Or the main way time is increased is all the time in the menu re-rolling, but the other way is the time it takes to kill the boss. Since field clearing, unless you're like way overgeared or get some strong combination early like Maggot Glacier, won't contribute a significant time save. Alright, so here for this fusion, this is one of the rare ones fusion order actually matters. If you do Shotgun X Maggot, Shotgun's high baby ball count will override Maggot's low baby ball count. And if you do it the other way around, it makes a terrible ball like Maggot X Shotgun, because Shotgun will only shoot 2 to 3 balls. So order does matter for this one. Usually it's just visual, but there's a few edge cases with balls that do similar effects where it does matter. Oh, I didn't mention the damaging passives besides Wagon Wheel, but the flat damage ones, they don't scale with any percent damage increases and can't crit. Like Deadeye's Amulet and Midnight Oil, but they have pretty good numbers. Like, I haven't even completed my passive trophy fully, and they're still both competitive with Wagon Wheel and Upturned Hatchet. Deadeye's Amulet, depending on how much crit you have, you may also need a crit passive to go with it, like Silver Blindfold or Backstab Dagger. But since I'm playing Shade, I have the crit bonus, and I have around 40% crit, so it's fine just on its own. Here I'm trying to make Cornucopia because it's very good with Maggot, or it's just good in general. Or I see a lot of misconceptions about Cornucopia not being good. Basically, it's 2.5 baby balls, whereas Baby Rattle is 2. But Cornucopia also applies to Maggot, Bottle Tornado, Slingshot, etc. And additionally, Baby Rattle, you have to fire the balls, which makes you fire special balls slower. If you have Ethereal Cloak, it doesn't really matter. Baby Rattle's fine, since the balls will get stuck in the back and you'll be able to fire everything. And here I'm going to roll like crazy for Upturn Touch it and miss it. But Warhorns, damage boost only applies to your damage from leadership, which almost none of your baby ball damage comes from. It's all from Smoldering Trophy. Uh, and this is true pretty much even in NG+, assuming you've done the trophies in base game, because the trophies give 32, and your baby ball damage will be around 20 from leadership at that point. So already Warhorn's like half as effective. And the further you go, the worse Warhorn becomes on its own. You pretty much don't want to take it unless you're planning to make Cornucopia. Whereas Baby Rattle is great on its own still for a lot of characters when you have Ethereal Cloak. But yeah, Cornucopia shoots the balls alongside your default attack and with any spawn balls. So yeah, as you can see, it still works. Like it does okay damage. The waves aren't a problem ever. It's just the boss without Hemorrhage or Glacier takes eternity. Yes, spending 30,000 gold to miss Upturned Hatchet. I wonder if I rolled over it. Some other good passives on Shade can be the things that boost speed, like Rubber Band, Radiant Feather. Radiant Feather plus boots to make Wings of the Anointed. Backstab Dagger when you're early on in the game is also pretty good. And Midnight Oil is good. If you're playing seriously, you probably want to use your Dark for Flicker and make Flicker Hemorrhage. And then another good combination with him is Spider Queen, since it can spawn a ton of balls. And you can combine that with anything good, like Hemorrhage, Glacier, etc. Overgrowth even works. But yeah, baby balls do a ton of damage later. Okay, so this is similar to the Mosquito strat. As we mentioned, Empty Nester ignores all the cooldowns. This is just showing it doesn't just work with Spendthrift. You can use like Flagellant, for example. You can even use Sisyphus. It works with everyone. You just have to think about what balls you have starting out and which ones have cooldown, since ideally you want every ball you have to have a cooldown. The one thing I'll say though is that if you're not using mosquitoes, it's fine to have the gem spring, because mosquitoes are the only one that have the weird interaction with it where the mosquitoes are homing, but they will home in on the gem spring and lower your damage. You can actually get a ton of gold this way. If you don't take the Voodoo Doll passive, you'll get a ton of hits, especially on normal. You'll get more hits than on Fast 9. And you can bank all the extra level ups from the gem spring and at the end spend them all to get gold. I'm at the point I don't really need gold ever, or it's just not relevant to me. Like it costs too much to buy things from the market even after the changes, and I don't care about the stats that gold gives me. Like I haven't bothered leveling them up in a long time because they're just not very good. Or the only stat I really want is dexterity, but it's pretty much not going to level without like a week of checking the game every day. So here I think I'm trying to get boots for Wings of the Anointed, which does work pretty well with the egg sack, but I gave up. It's better to roll for passives when your balls are full and roll for balls when your passives are full because it limits the number of options you can be shown. But in this case, I just gave up. It's pretty hard to get the exact passives you want. Even if you do that, you might still not get them, and even with the insane gold from higher NG levels. On some bosses, this really shreds them, like on Smoldering Depths. Some bosses, it takes a bit longer, and then the hit pattern on Voluptuous Egg Sac is weird. In some cases, you're better off just leaving it as Egg Sac. It depends on which character you're combining with. With Flagellan, I feel like Voluptuous Egg Sac is fine, but some of the other characters, it seems to lower your damage over just having the regular Egg Sac because of how it pops. In this one, there's a limit in the game's code of how many side balls, which are the balls spawned. So there's no real performance issue. Like, you can see some frame drops, but you won't crash like with Mosquito Swarm. You'll just get some FPS drops. So it's perfectly fine to stand right next to the effigy. What was I gonna say? I had thought of something and then I completely forgot it. Oh well. Oh, I was gonna mention the field clear. Uh, Depending on which platform you're on, you might be stuck at certain NG levels. Was a bug before, an audio bug with field clear bonus. I believe on Nintendo Switch version it just crashes you, and in other ones it lags the game and puts it in an unresponsive state. It looks like in the November update, uh, Steam has the most lenient like version approval process compared to the other versions. So the games are on different versions on different platforms like PS5, Game Pass. So you might run into that issue in New Game Plus progression. I'm assuming there's going to be a December update based on the like announcement of the announcement, and hopefully it will reach there. I think there was a dev response saying they're pending approval from Nintendo for the patch still, so hopefully that will be fixed. But that is something to consider for higher NG plus levels. If you're not on Steam version, you might reach a wall. For me, where it became unplayably annoying was around 11, but some people did push to 15 with it and just deal with the crashes, but I just went back to grind trophies at that point rather than like bang my head against the wall. And when it was fixed, then I just kept progressing normally. So here, similar like what we did with freeze resetting, uh, you're resetting in a way that guarantees maggot. It doesn't guarantee it, it's 50-50 between radiation laser and maggot. I think in this case I didn't even get cell as the opener. I got it on my second level up, or first level up. So you can take one level up and see what you get. And when you die, you want to move as far up as possible because it kills all enemies on screen. And you will die a lot in higher NGs. It's just the nature of things. But usually, as long as you move up the screen, you get enough experience in gold, you can make a build that will clear. The difference, if you're not using Empty Nester, is you can level and see what you get. There are a couple things that would brick the run, but usually it's worth doing. The core here is you get maggot and don't level until maggot and laser are fused together. In this case, it's freeze ray instead of regular laser, but both work fine. Um, and that should be enough to clear to the boss. And then uh, essentially you just have to play well. With cohabitants, you can neutralize this boss and never get hit. Like we've already died once on this map, so we don't have a second life. But you can see we're able to dodge pretty much everything the boss throws at us. It does take a long time. Like it's not fast by any means, but in fact I think this is like a 10-minute clip. But it is a strategy that works. The moon trophy's honestly not that good. This is more, I guess, for the challenge, completionist's sake. I don't know why you would want to do this. Same with the fungal trophy is not that good, so it's probably not worth taking tactician to it, even though it is beatable. It's probably just not worth doing unless you want the challenge of doing it. So phase 1 is actually the easier phase here because he spawns a lot of ads for the maggot, and phase 2 will be the harder phase, but it's very doable still. It just takes a long time. And this is I guess we got a second maggot, which is kind of good, but they don't stack. Like you don't get 2 copies of maggot on the enemies. It just makes it more likely to cover more of the screen. But all of our passives are pretty irrelevant here for boosting our damage. And Robert Headman is like pretty neutral here as well. You can get super lucky and get hemorrhage, but you can't rely on that, so this is just showing, like in the worst case, how it goes. You can stand in the bottom left corner, but then you can see he almost touches the tip there. You can't dodge everything if you do that. Sometimes you'll get hit. Whereas if you dodge towards the right, you usually have enough time to shoot down every projectile before it reaches you. And you can also, you see me wiggling the cursor a lot. It's basically just to make sure there's a safe area to dodge in. I think we could only really get hit like 1 or 2 times before dying. So here we just have to not die or not get hit at all. It's not terribly hard. It's more just not making a mistake for a long duration of time. And not losing focus. There's a couple other good characters to pair Cogitator with as well. Embedded, Shield Bearer. Basically characters that have strong damage buff or free passive. Shade also works sometimes. I would say Shade's probably lower tier than Embedded or Shield Bearer though. Tactician's another one that can be pretty free win on certain maps, just not on this one. Sisyphus also works occasionally. It's just Cogitator has no knowledge of Sisyphus passive and the 0 hit damage, so it's more RNG dependent that he will pick something relevant. He does start with laser though, so it's like a good opener for Sisyphus. It's just you're pretty much rolling the dice that he picks something relevant for the free ball and like future balls. Like you can get good Sisyphus runs with Cogitator, or he can just instantly break the run, like pick Charm, Lightning, and then fuse into Love Struck, and stuff like this. Whereas it's much easier to control other strategies and just pick something that wins with other characters. Yeah, so 9 minutes is pretty terrible for fast 9, but it's doable. Right, I think that's the end. I'll try to update maybe a guide later that covers some of the things. We'll see.